Welcome to Have a Kind Word with Yourself, a podcast that helps us to keep kind, creative, and connected. My name is Rose Kondo, and I'm your host. I'm a poet, a performer, a lover of sending letters, and I love connecting with creative communities. Today, I am speaking with someone who might have the broadest list of roles of any guest so far. Victoria is a lawyer, a speaker, an artist, and educator, and her work lives between courts and community and between poetry and policy. We discuss loads about her work, and as ever, we use kindness as the bedrock. Our chat journeys from when we met years ago in Winnipeg through to her amazing legal and advocacy work in Nunavut in northern Canada. I'm so excited to share this chat with you. But before we start, let me ask you what your feet are doing right now. I know, odd question, but just for a moment, just think, are they in shoes? Are they in sandals or socks? Are your feet barefoot, which is definitely my preferred way for sure? Are your feet feeling tense or tired? Are they propped up somewhere? I do a lot on my feet, as many of us do, and my feet have taken me places, and I'm trying to be better at putting them in comfortable and supportive footwear and giving them a bit of a break. Checking in with them can take just a moment or two, but can bring a bit of grounding and calm if that's needed. Okay, let's get today's kind words rolling. My guest today is Victoria Perrie. Victoria is a Two-Spirit Métis Cree lawyer from Winnipeg, Manitoba. She recently received a Coronation Medal, which is an award given to those who have made a significant contribution to Canada or to a particular province, territory, region, or community of Canada. She was also elected Vice President of the Indigenous Bar Association in 2025. Among her many legal accomplishments, she supports community legal education through her TikTok at Arctic Lawyer. Victoria's artistic practice spans theater, poetry, dance, visual art, and digital media, deeply rooted in her heritage and dedication to amplifying Indigenous voices. Her creativity is inseparable from her advocacy, using art to challenge societal assumptions, highlight systemic inequities, and celebrate Indigenous culture and knowledge. What a joy it is to chat with you today. Welcome, Victoria, to Have a Kind Word with Yourself.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
It's so great to have you joining us from Winnipeg. We're in a 6 hour time difference here, so it's the morning for you, hey?
It is, yeah, just 11 a.m.
Yeah, and you're here on the screen. It's lovely. So to start off, I would love to know what are some kind words you've heard recently?
When I was contemplating what I was going to share and bring to today, to our conversation, and reflecting on what is kindness and how does kindness exist in my world, I was concerned that I might actually not be the best choice to be on this podcast because a lot of what I do is dealing with situations that are fairly unkind. As a criminal defense lawyer, I'm not often dealing with uh, the fruits and flowers of people's labor. I'm often dealing with people's worst days of their lives.
Mm,
And a lot of the artistic expression that I find myself engaged in today reflects on that work that I do in my everyday
right.
life.
Yeah.
So I'm not really deriving super kind energy in my day to day.
Yeah.
Um, but of course, there's always a light in the tunnel. And I guess recently, kind words that I've come across are kind of congratulatory terms. Probation officers congratulating clients who have successfully completed their terms, or judges congratulating clients of mine who have successfully attended and completed treatment. Um, so it's a lot of congratulations are the kind words that are around me these days.
Wow. Yeah, I really appreciate your honesty in that. And I still think you are a really good fit for this podcast. We'll dig into things for sure. But I really appreciate that because it sounds like you are in the thick of it a lot with the work that you do. And the kindness element is maybe not always present. It does make me think about why I have started this podcast, which is talking to amazing people like yourselves and thinking, how do we maintain kindness towards ourselves to then do the really hard work like what you're doing? So, yeah, maybe we'll kind of get into that in a little bit. But yeah, thank you for that. And I also like to start off by asking my guests about when we first met, and we have known each other a long time. Do you remember around the time when we first crossed paths?
Oh gosh. I was a teen, I believe. I don't know that I was an adult yet. I don't know if I would have been 15, 16, 17, but somewhere in there
Hmm.
at Manitoba Theatre for Young People, where you were working in administration for the Aboriginal Arts Training and Mentorship Program. And I was a student who attended an audition with a friend, not to attend the audition, but just to accompany her, and then got pulled into the audition and ended up being in the show.
I never knew that. Oh, that's amazing, Victoria. I love that.
Yeah, I really got sucked in. By the friend that I attended the audition with, she actually didn't get a part in the show, but I did, and I didn't. I felt really bad because I didn't even go there with the intention of auditioning. They were just like, "Okay, come in."
Yeah. Well, I think this happens from time to time, doesn't it? But clearly they saw something in you to be nurtured in the program and to perform. And I remember there was a performance at the Graffiti Gallery, and you were kind of stood up on this platform, and your voice just filled this wonderful cavernous space. And I was like, oh man, she's got some chops. Yeah, that was really cool.
That show was called Legends, and I also remember that well. I loved doing that speech from like perched up high on that railing. Yeah, I find a lot of what I do today in courtroom is also coming in with my big bellowing voice and kind of commanding attention and presenting my speech in similar ways that I did when I was a performing artist. And you know, being having the opportunity to enunciate and present in the ways that I did at AbArts really created the groundwork for the litigation I do today.
Yeah, definitely. All of these things are kind of woven into the person that you are, for sure. I want to give a quick shout out to Kalumpa Bob as well, who spearheaded the Aboriginal Arts Training and Mentorship Program and wrote and directed Legends, as I recall. And yeah, absolute champion for sure. And so you do, I mean, your focus is very much in the legal realm at the moment, but you have a huge creative background practice. I should mention that it was about a couple years ago, you were over in the UK. And we arranged for you to come to, you stayed with me for the night in Manchester, but we went to Huddersfield, where I run a monthly night at the Lawrence Batley Theatre called Attic Stories. And you were our feature guest. And that was such a cool experience of, for me personally, my kind of two opposite sides of the Atlantic worlds meeting. But I know you absolutely blew away the audience as well with the work that you shared.
I really had a great time being there. Um, yeah, in that collection of poems, that was one of the first times that I shared it as a collection. And yeah, it felt quite powerful to share those words in that space. And in the room at the Lawrence Batley Theater that where we were, um, the way the sound bounced off the walls and like also the way the silence like hangs in
Mm,
between pieces in that room, I thought was very um, additive to the emotion in the words.
yeah, definitely. Gosh, you create atmosphere everywhere you go. I love it. So as I mentioned in the introduction, you've done lots of different things in a creative practice, and I wonder if there is something that you particularly love about the creative work that you do.
You know, I haven't had a lot of time recently to be doing creative work, but when I do have the time, what I really enjoy is well, do I enjoy it? Or is it like a process that like feels a bit necessary? Which is the reflection and the dredging through, I guess, the more painful moments of a situation that maybe because of the circumstances I was in at the time wasn't able to like fully process or have a slow graded emotional response to. So sifting through the processing in a slower way is good for, I guess, processing as well as for um, creating emotion or creating opportunity for that emotion to be re-evoked through the words that I put on the paper.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'm hearing that kind of using creativity and slowing and reflection as a tool to support you in other realms of your day. And that feels like a really important thing for you in the midst of a lot of the hard work that you do.
Yeah, yeah, it's meditative.
Yeah, amazing. Well, with all of that in mind, we're going to jump into our kind chat. So, for this podcast, I use the word kind as a bit of a roadmap for our discussion. So, each letter of the word stands for a word that will spark our conversation. So, the first letter of kind is K, and the letter I've chosen is kitchen. So, I'd love to know what is in your kindness kitchen. And by that, I mean, what do you do to cook up kindness towards yourself?
Patience certainly is in the kindness kitchen,
Yeah.
and space is in the kindness kitchen. I think that for myself, patience and space are very aspirational and also very necessary to creating quality artistic work. Having those things in my kitchen, although they are easy to push to the back of the cupboard when all of, when things with a sooner expiration date are pushed to the front of the cupboard to be used in the kitchen, they can be pushed back to the back quite simply because there is no well, I suppose there is an expiration date on time and space,
Yeah.
but it feels easier to push back.
I love how you're extending the food metaphor even further. That's really cool. But I think it's a good reminder that patience, at the very least, is kind of always there in the cupboard, even if it's a bit eclipsed by some things. Um, and space are good things to reach for. Absolutely. Well, the next letter in our word is I. And the word I have for I is inspiration. And I wonder where you find inspiration, Victoria.
I find inspiration, a lot of my inspiration comes from the work I do and my own upbringing, as well as reflections on the upbringings of those who I grew up alongside and seeing the different places where we've all ended up. And so, in creating my most recent works, reflecting on, I guess, the inspiration of all of those as independent um, categories and then creating a stream where they become one is what inspires my most recent work.
Yeah, amazing. Can you talk about some of your more recent projects at all?
Yeah, so I've just been, well, I guess I've got a few projects on the go right now. I have a script for a show on Louis Riel's life called Love Louis. So Love Louis is a play that I've been working on for some time now. It is a reflection on the life of Louis Riel through a retelling, an imaginative retelling of the loves of his life, his father, his mother, his wife, his children, his love for the church and for poetry. The other work that has been ongoing for me is drafting a book of poetry. This book of poetry is really the work that I've drawn on most of my responses throughout our chat so far. And that book of poetry, it doesn't quite have a name yet. I've got a few working titles, but none that really feel true to what the book is right now. Uh,
Yeah.
but it's largely, yeah, a collection of poems.
Yeah, amazing. I think it brings to mind what you were just saying about what's in your kindness kitchen, that patience in that space, that we know this as creatives, that it does take that time sometimes for something to take shape and take form. And if we try to arbitrarily rush it, the creative work will hit the brakes or will, go quiet or something. So I love that you're taking your time with it. Although that I'm sure can be frustrating at times, but yeah, that's exciting that that is taking shape. And also lovely to hear about the Love Louis show. So for listeners who maybe aren't familiar with Louis Riel, could you give like a quick summary of his significance in our history?
Yeah, so Louis Riel is well regarded as the father of Manitoba. He was the first political leader of the Métis, which are a group, a people, um, that originate here in what is now Winnipeg, Manitoba area. Louis Riel was the political leader of the group, and the group of folks came from settler mixed settler and indigenous ancestry, and specifically, this group is called the Métis, and they also had a shared cultural heritage and language and practices. So they're a distinct people that were raised here, right here in Manitoba. And Louis Riel was the leader of the Métis.
Oh, amazing summary. Love that. And really exciting to hear about this show as well. That's such a cool concept of exploring the different loves in all the kind of different layers of a life lived. That's brilliant. I'll have to keep an eye out for when that is finished and hopefully produced. And hey, maybe it'll tour to Manchester.
That would be great.
Wouldn't that be amazing? Oh, brilliant. But yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense about where you're finding inspiration from. It sounds like you have a real openness to where you're drawing like your ideas or things that you want to weave into the writing that you do and the stories you want to tell. Well, the next letter in the word kind is N, which is for noticing. So often at this point in my chats, we've sort of talked about noticing a bit already, which we kind of have here, sort of as you create things, you notice what you want to say, you notice observations that you want to bring into story or poetry or writing. But because this is a podcast about kindness, I'm curious about what you're noticing about kindness these days.
So these days, while I am an artist and I'm a lawyer, I'm also a business owner. And being a business owner has really taken off in the last, I would say, year and a half. And so, what I've been noticing is a lack of time, patience, and space. Yeah. It- but I think for the first time, maybe in my life, I'm noticing like that intention really matters. And that if I'm not able to create the space that I need to accomplish certain things, that they're just never going to get done. And I don't mean to be cliche by bringing up like an exercise
Go
um,
for it.
example, but the reality is, I've always been someone who's like I do, I'll go to the gym and be really into it, and then I'll like fall out of habit, and then I'll get really back into it and be going all the time. My whole life has been like a kind of an on again, off again love affair with the gym. And
I hear
um,
you. I feel the same.
just like never having the consistency
Mm.
necessary. But I think in becoming so much busier and I know busyness is a commodity these days that a social commodity, I suppose, but with the businesses and work and trying to be creative, it's just taken kind of my life to this new level of busyness that I didn't know was possible. And
Mm.
it's really created an opportunity for me to notice that if I'm not prioritizing the things that I actually want to do, that they will never be prioritized. I will never accomplish those things. And um, with respect to the gym, it's like if I don't put it in my calendar, I'm not going to go because I don't have time, like
Mm.
actually. And I know this is, I think, quite elementary, but it's taken me 36 years to get to this place where I've
Yeah.
really realize it's not oh, I'll do it later. It's if I do not do it and create the space um, for me to do it, that it's never going to happen. So I think noticing that, and like I guess it's noticing, but it's also learning a lesson. Um, that lesson really reflects into my artistic practice, right? Like if I'm not going to be taking the time to create space and exist in a patient space that will allow me to create art, then I'm not going to. And quite frankly, that can be seen by how these two projects have been dragging on for a while now.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, there's so much in what you just said. I think that intention is present in a lot of ways and can kind of it can be so easy for us to knock those things down the priority list. And I really get a sense from what you're saying of we have this assumption that for high output, we just churn, 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 churn. And as we get older and know ourselves better, in order to have any kind of high output, the input needs to be there as well. Like it's not sustainable otherwise. And whether the input, like, for you is perhaps diarizing, going to the gym, or some people might be, walking or yoga or meditating or whatever it is that just refills that well a little bit in order to, like you say, do the things that you want to do. It makes me think about how I certainly have lots of writing ideas and projects that are sitting on multitudes of back burners. And your words about creating the right circumstances for those things to develop really, really hits home for me. It really rings true. We get caught in expecting that to just bubble up and develop on its own, but we have to create the circumstances for that.
Hmm. Yeah, we really, and it doesn't pan out every time. I've,
True.
I've taken myself on a couple of writing retreats with like pure intention to have patience and space. And well, on one of them, I got a stomach bug, so I just ended up being sick. The
Oh
whole
no.
did not write. And the other one, I did write a bit, but it wasn't flowing the way I wanted it to. Um, so, despite that intention and noticing what you need to
Hmm.
create that space. It doesn't always work out.
Yeah, I guess that, and then there is also the accepting the uncomfortable fact that that is also part of the process.
Yeah.
Yeah, which kind of sucks sometimes if you've taken yourself away to this beautiful idyllic place where it's calm and quiet and the ideas aren't flowing. But that's, you're still showing up to it, and that's part of it too.
Yeah, it's showing up repeatedly, even if the last time didn't work out, and keeping that commitment to yourself that you're going to show up, even if you're not going to get the result that you desire, because next time you'll know that you'll still go and you'll still show up, creating that reliability within yourself for yourself.
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah. Oh, that's really insightful. Um, well, thinking about then as we come to the end of the word kind and the letter D, the word I have is dream, and it's a tough time right now in many ways, and I think it's a bit of a big question, but I think sometimes that aspiration can help to fuel us a little bit. So the question is, what do you dream of for kindness in the future?
It's a really tough question. I think that the dream of kindness could exist on so many different levels, locally, internationally, between and around politics. If I can say what I dream for kindness with respect to Nunavut, which is where I do most of my work.
And for
And
anyone who's not familiar, can you say where that is?
yes, so Nunavut is the northernmost territory in Canada. It is the Arctic region. It spans both below and high above the Arctic Circle.
Mm,
And that's where I do most of my lawyering up there. Um, I really love it. It's the most beautiful place on earth, and the
mm,
people are just so lovely. Uh,
hmm
but I suppose what I dream of with respect to kindness for Nunavut, for the place that I work, and for the work that I do, would be greater access to justice
mm,
for folks living in Nunavut. Nunavut is a very large territory. There are 25 communities within the territory, and every one of those communities is accessible only by plane. Now, if you've got a snowmobile and know the land, you can go by snowmobile in the winter, but it's a very long, multi-hour, multi-day trip
mm,
sometimes between communities. So it's really only accessible by plane. Um, and there's just so little access to legal information and education in the territory. I think there's many reasons for that. Largely funding. Also, there's no dedicated access to justice organization in the territory, unlike almost every other province or territory in Canada.
hmm
And so my dream really would be that people have access to information in the same ways that everybody else in Canada has that access. And I appreciate that at the beginning of this podcast, you gave a shout out to my TikTok channel. And this is part of what I mean, it is mostly what I do on TikTok is try and advance access to justice for Nunavummiut, which is a word that means people from Nunavut, um, is disseminating access to legal information through that channel. So I'm trying to make my dream a reality, but
Yeah.
I'm just one girl, but I'm chipping away at it.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that is a big hill to climb for sure. But You are doing the work. And you know what's really interesting about so much of what you've been saying, but just towards the end there, mentioning your TikTok. In these conversations, social media often comes up. And as you can imagine, the conversations are often about how challenging it is and how nefarious some of the people, well, how nefarious the people who are kind of creating these platforms and running these platforms are. And yet, we do still cling on to these examples of the benefits of it and kind of probably connecting with the original intention, which was to connect people. And so for you to have a TikTok, which I'm sure is brilliant, I will admit I haven't seen it. I've been on TikTok once and I was like, oh, I'm not good at this, but I'm sure you're brilliant. And for that to be one tool in your toolbox for creating this justice and for spreading this knowledge is fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. The oligarchs of social media are not super desirable, but I think that the platforms that exist are, they can be used for good, even if on the back end, um, they're not doing too well. And I think things have been like this forever. No system has ever been amazing, and I'm not trying to stand up for, big corporations, but
Mm.
I don't think there's ever been a time in history where those at the very top have had the purest of intentions for those at the bottom.
Yeah, very much. But I think to connect with what you're doing in Nunavut, like it's kind of a brilliant tool, isn't it? Like in these very remote communities, I struggle to think of living somewhere where it's only accessible by plane. I have seen some of the pictures that you've posted and it looks gorgeous. But yeah, there's such a sense of isolation, I'm sure, in a lot of ways. And to have something like TikTok that's not only there maybe for a bit of entertainment and connection, but for education as well. I feel like you're kind of subverting any malice of these platforms by using it for good.
I mean, I try to use it for good. Yeah, it really, especially, what you just said about it being isolated communities. I think that's the key. I was working with the Law Society. I was doing some work with them to do access to justice, like week-long community legal education information sessions in several communities. But the thing is these are like multi tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on the community you're going to,
Yeah.
because you're flying multiple people there. You're renting a space for community to gather. You're, collecting all this food to have at the event. You're renting hotels for all of the people who are coming in. So all of these costs very quickly add up and make accessing justice extremely inaccessible, which is,
Hmm.
consequently what happens when you're trying to deliver no cost programming in the high Arctic. And I thought, how can I reach more people with this information? Because we would always receive such great feedback and folks wanting to, like, hungry to learn more, but not having those resources in their own communities. So I thought, how can I reach more people with this same information that we're delivering, um, but have it not cost tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so I turned to TikTok, and yeah, it's been great. And of course, my channel started in just purely interest and increasing access to justice. Of course, it's actually panned out to be not that bad of a business decision as well, because folks are looking now for someone to handle their legal matters, and
Right.
my firm comes up as someone that they now know and have built a relationship with. So, well, I
Yeah.
didn't intend to start the channel for marketing reasons. It's, had that benefit, I suppose, as well.
Yeah, which sounds really organic as well. So it's that's a really lovely outgrowth of that. I could talk to you for hours about all of this, but I'm sure you have a to-do list that is a mile long. So we will start to come to a close. And I have started this project to explore ways that we can keep kind, creative, and connected. And so I love to gather top tips for this. And I wonder if you have a top tip about how we can do that, how we can keep kind, creative, and connected.
The questions that you have are so interesting, and for everyone, I'm trying to decide which area of my life to draw on to answer the question. I think that I'll answer this one with respect to running a business. Um, and I think that remaining connected, so as someone who, you know, started and grew several businesses very, very recently, um, remaining connected to every person in my organization has been um, both challenging and super rewarding. And relating it back to kindness, also, having these interactions with employees, or staff that are working with me, and maintaining kindness when providing feedback, I think has been a real opportunity for growth for me.
Mm,
Um, I previously have, I've had management roles in my life or like supervisory roles in my life, but never
yeah.
kind of to the level that I have right now.
Mm,
And really, with the starting of that TikTok account, in April of last year, of 2025, it was just me at my law firm. I was my law firm. And
yeah.
now we have 8 lawyers and 5 support staff. Um,
Wow. Oh my
so like
gosh.
the business has grown insanely
Yeah.
in like the last year and a couple months. And treating everyone with kindness has been an opportunity, I think, to create good relations with the staff here. And I think in my past roles where I was a, a leader in some type of leadership capacity, I was also friends with all of the people that were below me, and
Hmm.
that doesn't really make sense to do
Mm,
in the situation that I'm in now. And so I've had to take the opportunity to learn how to be connected to my staff and the lawyers that work here, while not like treating it like a friendship. Uh,
yeah.
and I think that the balance between those is like leading with kindness. And so it's not necessarily that you're being nice and shielding people's feelings, but it's that you're delivering news, be it good or bad, or feedback that they didn't want to hear, but something that needs to be relayed. But doing it in a kind way has created an opportunity for connection where previously, before like doing some significant reflection on how to, lead an organization was something that was a bit nerve-wracking, like how to have hard conversations without upsetting the other person. uh,
Yeah.
but leading with kindness and connection within and like creating those opportunities for growth. I've actually found to be, create a deeper connection rather than um, just providing that feedback. That's kind of a long answer to your question.
Yeah, but I can relate to a lot of what you're saying, and I see a lot of wisdom in what you're saying as well, that it really helps to bring the best out in people, both in terms of you as a manager, a business owner, and those who you work with, to have kindness at the heart of it, even when it is hard conversations. I think we can say things that are difficult with kindness. That's definitely possible. But it really, in a kind of full circle way, makes me think of what you were saying about what's in your kindness kitchen. So some patience and some space, both for yourself, but for those around you too, and even bringing intention to it. I feel like you've woven this gorgeous tapestry with all of your words that have really fit into your top tip here, Victoria.
Oh, well, I'm glad that you found a thread because it was not intentional.
But that's where it's nice to have other ears or other eyes on things where we can reflect back and see the sense, the wisdom, the beauty in what someone has shared. So yeah, thank you so much for that. So we'll wrap up in a moment, but I wonder if you could briefly, you've mentioned your businesses a bit. Can you tell us about them? Can we find information about them? Do you want to plug them at all? What would you like to share about them?
Sure. So you can reach everything through my website, which is just victoriaperry.com. Uh,
Nice.
but the specifics are merrilllaw.ca is the law firm. And then Kiiwetinoong Consulting. Kiiwetinoong means Northwind and Swampy Cree. We do various types of consulting, kind of anywhere. We can work anywhere in the world, but a lot of what we do right now is focused on Winnipeg and Nunavut. That's at kiiwetinoongconsulting.com. And the other businesses that I have are not ones that I might shout out. One is like a staffing and commercial space. I don't think anyone on your podcast is seeking staffing commercial space in Winnipeg, but if they are, we don't have a website, so you'll never find us.
If
Um,
they are, hey, listener, if you're out there and that is, you're going, oh my gosh, that's the niche thing that I need, you can get in touch with Victoria through her website. So there you go.
yeah. Yeah. So I guess that's what I would shout out. We've already shouted at the TikTok. Um, that's great.
Amazing. Well, my goodness, you have a lot of plates that you're spinning. You have a lot on the go, but I really hear in what you've been talking about a real sense of kindness towards yourself to sustain the amazing things that Victoria Perry is doing. So long may that continue. But for now, just an enormous thank you for taking time to speak with me and speak with our listeners. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for thinking of me and for having me. What an honor.
I struggle regularly with my mind racing at 1,000 miles an hour with to-do lists and schedules and aspirations and high expectations of myself. And chatting with Victoria, listening to her thoughtful and considered words was such a beautiful reminder of slowing down to think and reflect. The pace of our world is growing ever faster, so regularly remembering to take the pace a bit slower, paying attention to nuances, and giving ourselves moments in silence before speaking can bolster our communication and our kindness. I also really deeply resonated with the points that Victoria raised about showing up to our creativity, whatever that looks like, in a regular way to bring patience and consistency for ourselves. So much to reflect on. An enormous thank you to you, Victoria, for your work and your wisdom. I've linked to loads of what we chatted about in today's show notes. And thank you, dear listeners, so much for listening. We'll have another episode coming your way soon. You can like and subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, and YouTube, where captions are available. Please give us a rating or drop a comment or a review. Perhaps your prompt after this episode could be to say what's in your kindness kitchen. This podcast is written and produced and hosted by me, Rose Kondo. If you want to find out more about my work, you can drop me a line through my website, rosekondo.net, where you can also see amazing illustrations by Neve Wood, also known as Little Badger. The podcast music has been composed and recorded by Eleonora Rosca. And finally, please share this. Help us to keep kind, creative, and connected.